Black people still aren't free, according to not just one American Democrat congresswoman, in this case, Cori Bush. Do you think black people are still slaves?
How much are they being paid?
She's been paid a lot.
Yeah,
over 100 grand a year.
I think it's near 200,000 or something like that.
I think it was about $150,000, but I mean, it's a lot of money.
Adjustments and whatnot.
Yeah.
Not to mention the allowances and the various perks you get for being an elected representative, in which you can just tell the police to sod off, and they will.
Apparently so. So she's the Democrat representative for Missouri's 1st Congressional District, and she tweeted out, "They say that the 4th of July is about American freedom. Remember this, the freedom they're referring to is for white people. This land is stolen land, and black people still aren't free. So black people are occupying stolen land?"
That's a good point. If we're going to say that the Europeans moved there and are occupying Indians' land, like, well, what about the black people? I know they were taken there by force, but
colonizer.
They can go back to Liberia. That is what Liberia was set up for, was to stop the stolen land of the Indians.
Well, yeah, and no, but I can understand. Like, you know, where, at the end of slavery, black people are like, I don't want to have to live here. I'd rather go back to Africa. I think that's totally legit. Like, that's a totally understandable thing. You know, like if you were the descendant of a Cornish farmer who was kidnapped, taken to North Africa and forced into slavery, and then suddenly, the slave trade.
Well, it would be your grandson. But
yeah,
if your grandson was like, sod this, I'm
I don't really want to live in North Africa among my ex-slave owners. I understand that. You know, I think that's valid. But the way that she's pitching this is really quite awful, because what this effectively does is imply that black people aren't American. And I think that's wrong. I think that's deeply, deeply wrong. I think black people are just as American as any other Americans who happen to have lived and, you know, been raised and born and raised for generations in America. You're not from somewhere else. You're Americans.
But if Miss Bush does not feel this way, Liberia is a calling.
Well, why did she get herself elected to the Congress then?
Take it down from the inside, presumably.
It's an inside job, yeah. But yeah, so I kind of hate this. Because, I mean, let's give them the most generous interpretation, even though there's absolutely no reason why we should be charitable here. She says, you know, the 4th of July is about American freedom, but they meant freedom for white people. Kind of. They knew that this would cause freedom for all other races in America. But at the time, sure. But now, 300 years later almost.
How are black people still not free?
Why wouldn't you just accept that times have changed? Like, what is this weird return to tradition position that she's got going on? No, we can't be free because when this was written, we were slaves. Okay, sure. No,
we don't have to interpret the Constitution like that.
Yeah.
We can change parts of it.
But they knew that this would cause freedom. So it's like,
I love the idea that she's a hyper traditionalist in terms of constitutional, when they review it.
Yeah.
Like, you have the conservatives who are like, Second Amendment means what it says. And then you have the people who are like, well, what if we reinterpret it? She's like, no, all of the amendments wrong. The original one, the only one.
Yeah, exactly. But they didn't have, fighter planes and tanks. Well, no, I suppose they didn't have freedom for slaves either. So, return to tradition. It's such a bizarre thing. It's like, you can quite easily interpret the American Constitution as, it's free, all men created equal, therefore they should all be free. Yeah, okay. And now they're like, yeah, but not for blacks. Well, no, that's not what we think. We think the opposite of that. We think black people are people, and therefore they should also be free, which is why the slave trade ended. If you want to go back to prior to that, that seems like masochism to me. Like, what are you doing?
Maybe Cori wants to be the king of Dahomey.
Well, or the queen, as it were. Let's not misgender. I assume she's a she. But this got people responding, like 2020 San Francisco congressional candidate Saeed Buttar, someone who's not black, said, "Speak, Cori. It's almost as if our entire country has been brainwashed to ignore our history, and it's how its worst elements continue today, despite our self-congratulatory rhetoric." Again, really weird how I thought the progressives were in favour of things going forward and getting better, and this guy's like, no, return to tradition.
Saeed, should we talk about the Islamic slave trade of Africans and how that's not stopped? Still going on.
But what I find really interesting, right? The ignoring American history, right? No one is unaware of the American slave trade, the Civil War, and Jim Crow and segregation, right? No one's unaware of who MLK is, right? No one. Anywhere. On the entire earth, probably.
Imagine going up to an American and be like, hey, buddy, did you know? Like, what?
There's a guy called what? Content of our whats? But
what do you mean they enslaved black people?
Right. But even then, he's like, how its worst elements continue today. I honestly think that slavery was worse than what's happening to the black community now. I really think that.
I know the Democrats are bad, but they're not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, they're terrible. Don't get me wrong, Detroit is actually pretty awful. So in Chicago's murder rate is pretty horrific. But I still think slavery was worse. This is the hill I'm going to die on. Right? Slavery was worse than gang violence,
Is
okay?
living under Cori Bush worse or better than slavery?
That was the question.
One man's opinion from Zahid is, Cori Bush is worse.
Yeah, slavery was better than this. Dude, you weren't a slave. Like your ancestors. Well, maybe.
Zahid's ancestors would have been slavers, so.
Well, maybe, yeah. Another supporter wrote 89 more years of slavery after the Declaration of Independence was signed. Okay, that sure.
Nothing to do with the point.
Yeah, okay, but that was 150 years ago. So what now? Again, progress or return to tradition? The second appeared to imply that the constitutional motive of "we the people" was exclusionary. We the people didn't mean women. We the people didn't mean blacks. We the people didn't mean Native Americans. Okay, but now it does. Like, why are you trying to go back to these really unprogressive times when we've progressed to a point where that actually does mean that?
This still reminds me of Ben Shapiro, where he's like, shall not be infringed, leftists, read the Second Amendment right. And they're like, yeah, well, also, we the people, not black people. It's like,
we the blacks are the slaves, you know? It's like, what?
Ben is just looking at him like, what? We made the amendments.
It's mad. Thankfully, of course, as Rory's pointed out, the majority of observers pointed to the contradictions within her rhetoric, saying, well, look, you get $174,000 a year and you're an elected representative. You are a person who is invested with political power. What do you want? And, I mean, ultimately...
$500,000 a year.
Yeah, well, she's a black woman who says she's not free when she's governing black people. And she's saying the black people aren't free under her governance.
Maybe we should investigate her.
Yeah. Maybe this is going to be like a Leicester East.
10,000 modern slaves in her constituency.
1 in 8 are modern slaves or something. Maybe that does need investigating.
Oh, God. I can already see Candace Owens' description of that.
Go on.
It's just like 1 in 8 people in Democratic constituencies are slaves or something like this.
Well, I mean, if Corey's just come out and saying, hey, by the way, you are still slaves.
On the Democratic plantation. Ooh, boy.
I mean, it probably is roughly that sort of percentage as well.
Let's have an audit.
Other Twitter users, of course, told her to shut up because she's a moron. Someone at Fads wrote, I'm not white and I am free. If black people are not free, how the hell did you get elected to Congress? I will gladly book you a one-way ticket flight to anywhere in the world if you give up your citizenship. According to you, you're not free. Based.
Well, the answer is Liberia.
Yeah, it is. Stephen Copeland, a black Baltimore resident, said, speak for your damn self. I mean, it's just what all these people who just like freely living their lives as they do. And this woman's like, you're not free. It's like, I feel free. You know, I mean, I'm going about my life.
It's almost like it's a threat.
Ooh, that's
going to oppress you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Another one says, I'm free and free indeed. 59 years old and retired tractor trailer driver. I started my own LLC, strengthen the community, help feed and house the homeless and less fortunate individuals and families, helping to change the quality of their lives. Freedom. That's great energy. I love that energy. That's brilliant. Now, look, I'm not only am I'm black, I own a company, I'm retired, and I make the world around me a better place. What are you doing? You know, that's brilliant. I love it. Representative Anthony Sabatini of Florida, so presumably Italian, so also not white, says, you're an idiot. Concur. And musician Big Nick wrote, if you're an African-American government elected official making a hefty salary, take your Marxism out of this country and stop contributing to the destruction of patriotism in the United States of America. Preach. That's so great.
Who's Big Nick? It's such a good name as well.
A musician, but yeah, I mean, like I think that's honestly the responses to this were brilliant. I thought they were great.
Yeah. I also see the doctor there being like, every nation is built upon seized land. The 13th, 14th Amendment passed by Republicans guarantee equality under the law. But I suppose what he's missing is Cori is very much a constitutional absolutist, and any amendments to the Constitution aren't valid in her view. I don't know how else you get to that position.
Just the critical race theorists have got the black people saying, no, we weren't free.
We reject the 13th Amendment. Oh, boy.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm starting to become against return to tradition now, I've got to say.